Well, my friends, we made it. Welcome back to the Live Inspired Together movement. This is episode number 3, baby. We are on to something here. We are looking for the helpers and the heroes, and you keep sending evidence that they are everywhere. My friends, buckle up, enjoy the ride, because you are going to love this episode. All right, my friends, let's start this thing off right by celebrating the heroes in the community. And it's one I will never forget afterwards. It's a story of a mother and her son, a woman named Carol, and a young man named Tony, who have been dealing with health challenges their entire life. And yet teaching a community in their backyard, in their school district, what real success, what real buoyancy, what real life looks like. Although young Tony can't play sports due to some health conditions, he is the assistant coach for the Lindbergh High School basketball and football team. He cheers them on, he encourages them forward. He is a champion of their teams, and he is beloved by both the players and the entire student body. He's an amazing example of living inspired, of living on fire, and of living in awe. All of this, though, before Tony is diagnosed with COVID-19. He goes into hospital. The situation looks incredibly bleak. Eventually gets to walk out of that hospital, receive a parade like no other parades. And today, my friends, rather than just hearing the story with me and seeing the pictures flash behind me, I thought it would be awesome to not only relay you the story, but bring forth the heroes from the story. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my new heroes, my new friends, their name, Carol and Tony. Well, Carol and Tony, welcome to Live Inspired Together.
Thank you.
Carol, your story and Tony's story actually moved me to tears. So I wanted to bring you on our episode today so you can share a little bit more of it with our audience. Would you begin by sharing what Prader-Willi syndrome is?
Sure, yes. It's a genetic disorder impacted by chromosome 15. He's needed therapy his whole life, basically.
So I feel like you and my mother are united because you both have had an experience of raising a child through some challenges and into triumph. When did you realize that your little Tony was incredibly special?
So at birth in the hospital, we were told he wouldn't come home from the hospital. He's been fighting his whole life, but I knew since birth he was a fighter.
Why do you think others are drawn to Tony?
He doesn't know a stranger, quite honestly. We'll go to the grocery store and he'll ask the person, stocking fruit if they play any sports or if they've ever played sports. And if they have, then he'll say, "Can I please have your autograph?" So he'll hand him his autograph book. It doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete, if you played in elementary school, it doesn't matter. He loves everyone, and especially if you've ever played a sport. Doesn't matter what sport. It could be rugby, it could be any sport at all. He loves athletes.
Tony, I played 4th grade soccer. Can I give you an autograph next time I see you live?
What do you think?
Okay.
That's about as athletic as Mr. O'Leary gets.
That's okay.
So when coronavirus began spreading and when the risks of those who are most at risk of becoming sick became very clear to all of us, did you recognize that Tony was in actually that column that put him at high risk of
Absolutely.
He
had 3. Yes, he had 3 of the top high risk. He had diabetic, obese, and high blood pressure. So he had all 3 of those. And so I knew right away. So we tried to shelter in place, pretty vigilantly. So it was just shocking when even as vigilant as we were, he still was exposed and got hit pretty hard very quickly. So very scary.
Explain to me that, because many people who have not been directly affected by this don't realize how quickly this can go down. So in your own story, Carol, what happened with your Tony?
He had a very slight cough the night before we went to the emergency room. And I didn't think too much about it. I just kind of watched it. And the next afternoon, I could tell that he had a fever. So he had 2 of the 3 issues. And so I was getting more concerned. Then when he said, "I can't breathe, Mom," I knew immediately I needed to call the doctor. And the doctor called down to the ER at St. Louis Children's and then made arrangements for us to go down there. So it was immediate. And then by 9 p.m. that night, he was intubated on a ventilator. So it was very, very quick.
What were they saying to you when that first happened, that the likelihood of him coming out of this hospital was?
They didn't want to provide false hope, obviously. So I was just not getting any prognosis. So it was just kind of, let's see where it goes. And it was getting much worse before it got better. So it was every day his lungs were getting worse and worse. And then his kidneys were impacted and he was on dialysis, and then he needed blood transfusions. So it was getting really dire, and the outlook was extremely bleak initially. The second day is when we got the diagnosis, and at that point I honestly thought it was a death sentence, just given what I had read and heard about this virus. So it was very bleak, and they weren't giving us any news because they didn't know. So.
He begins attracting friends from around Lindbergh, where you live, but then around St. Louis, where we live, and then around the state where we live, and then around the country and around the world.
Yes.
What was that like for you, and what was it like, and I'll ask Tony here in a moment, what was it like for you to realize how loved he is and how loved you were?
So I had no idea. I was isolated in the room with him, so I had no contact with anyone but the nurses who came in, and then more infrequently the doctors were able to come in. But that is what got me through, just listening to all the videos and watching the videos and listening to the comments, reading the comments. It is what got me through. And I had no idea that Tony had such an impact on people. He obviously has a huge impact to those who are extremely close to us, but I didn't know it spread. And other people knew him that I had no idea. And then the kindness of strangers is a beautiful thing. It's just unbelievable.
Talk to me about the parade. What was that like?
It was while he was still in the hospital. So it was kind of a rally to get him to fight. It was amazing. He was sedated, severely sedated for some time, but I would play him videos while he slept and tell him, fight. These people are fighting for you. They have a parade I want you to watch. And that parade and everyone who took part in it got us through. And all the videos that started coming in got us through, got me through, because I could not have been so isolated without that support. And I think it helped Tony wake up, because I kept explaining, hey, guess who sent you a video? Vladimir Tarasenko, or, whoever it was. And so it was
Tony,
amazing.
You've always loved sports. Why do you think you love sports so much?
I just love watching them and playing them.
You don't only love watching them, you love coaching them. I understand you're an honorary coach at Lindbergh High School for, I think it's their basketball and their football teams. Is that true?
Yeah.
What was it like for you to walk away from that hospital back toward your car and eventually back home? How did it feel to leave the hospital?
Great. It was great.
Carol, there's so many people today dealing with so much adversity. You've dealt with adversity for a while. You've dealt with some storms for a while. You've had some unknowns in your life for quite a while. What has this experience taught you about life?
It's so precious, very short. You never know what's going to happen, what's around every corner. And people are good, people are kind, and life is good.
Carol, I get a lot of praise for the fight that I showed as a little kid. And I know Tony right now is getting an awful lot of praise for the fight that he is showing. I know as a little boy, I was referred to as a miracle. And now I know that Tony is being referred to as a miracle. But what I've learned in life is the greatest leader in my life was my mom. Just the example she was, the steadfast presence she was, the gift that she was and still is. And so I just wanted to, in front of our audience and all those watching, let you know how much we appreciate you, let you know how special you are, let you know that we think you're a fighter, that you're a miracle, and we appreciate you showing us that life remains possible for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, my friends, this concludes yet another beautiful episode, shareable episode, I will add, of Live Inspired Together. If you want to help us continue sharing the good news, I hope you do, why don't you email me right now at together@johnolearyinspires.com. Your evidence of good news can help shape this program and help change lives going forward, maybe even yours. So my friends, there is a lot of negativity in the marketplace. There is some headwind blowing toward us, but we believe in the truth that the best is yet to come. For this time, and until next time, my name is John O'Leary, and this is our day. Live Inspired Together.